Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, good. There's my hat. Hi, everyone. Sorry we're a little late. Lots of people talking to. So here we go.
Hi,
are we rolling?
Good evening.
We are.
We're rolling. Okay, we're on. We're filming this, everyone, for our blog and website. So, just so you know, your voice may be recorded if you speak. So, Kate, welcome.
Hello.
Kate Farrington, thank you. Let's give her another hand. All right, Kate, what should we talk about?
Well, I want to talk about Twelfth Night.
Okay.
It's a pretty good play. I was thinking about this. Somebody was asking me beforehand, what's the big thing about this play? And I've been thinking about this. I think this play has the best worst title in all of Shakespeare, because it means almost nothing to us in the 21st century. But to an original audience, this was telegraphing almost everything you needed to know. So imagine if you went to a play entitled Mardi Gras,
right?
Or entitled Carnival. That's the kind of vibe that this play is offering. You heard Twelfth Night, and they're thinking, yeah, 12 days of Christmas, lords of misrule, servants become masters, masters become servants. Everybody drinks and gorges themselves on food. Everybody exchanges presents. Nobody sleeps. Everybody's still doing pagan rituals where they're pouring wines on the field to make sure there's a great harvest when the winter ends, etc., etc. So it's like the best time of year. It's a huge, giant, delightful party. But it also implies Twelfth Night. It also has this totally other meaning, because it implies the Feast of Epiphany. So at the end of the 12 days of Christmas, you have the feast which celebrates in the Christian storytelling the moment where the three magi, the three wise men, approach and meet the baby Jesus and recognize the Epiphany, recognize that he is both fully human and the Son of God and fully divine. How is that possible? I don't know. It's a mystery. It is an actual religious mystery, the idea that a being can exist who is both of those things completely. So you're writing a play about a woman dressing as a man who is played in the original by a boy. You are writing a play where a woman marries a man but is sort of at the same time wooing a woman. What do we fall in love with? What is love? What are we attracted to? From a 21st century perspective, what is gender? What are we attracted to? What is the mystery of love? And so at the same time, we have a title with this play that implies the best party you've ever been to. And you also have this moment of, we're going to explore the depths of the mystery, the nearly sacred mystery that is love. What a great combo. It's like the best of both worlds. It's a little bit of everything. Also, we're gonna maybe punk some guy so terribly that he nearly goes mad because they treat him as a madman. Also, we're just gonna have every comic device we can throw out there. I love thinking of this as a Christmas play because it feels like that wonderful moment where you come out of the cold into a warm room lit by candlelight and a roaring fire, and it's loud and a little sweaty, but it's fun and playful, and that's where this play lives. It lives as the bright place in a dark and stormy world, because we come in and then we end it with the rain. It raineth every day, but for this little period of time, we're going to hang out and drink and talk about love. What a great premise for a play. What more do you need? So
it's great.
It's just so cool.
It's so,
oh my God,
it's so beautiful,
so
Kate, what you just said. It's so beautiful. And the other part of the title that I couldn't help but notice a few days ago is he called it Twelfth Night, or What You Will, meaning, I think, whatever you want, right?
Or
whatever, or something, right?
Yeah.
So there may be something to that question about like trying to figure out what the title ought to be for the play, but and I love that you said that love is a mystery, and that's very interesting. That seems to be at work here in this play, and Shakespeare is having fun with that idea, trying to get to the nature of something that is impossible to describe, which he worked in that project in different ways throughout his career, but in this play he seems particularly playful with the idea, and also I find some of those speeches from Olivia and Duke and Viola penetrating about love. There are some real lines in the play that really hit home when you hear them. They sound so. If you've ever been in love, you're like, oh right, that was what I was feeling or thinking in that moment. And Shakespeare just happened to put it in this play. That happens with Shakespeare.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we love him is because he captured human experience and thought so specifically. And yet, we don't really know the answer, I guess. Or do we? Do we ever get to the bottom of what love's all about?
I don't know. I love that we have all these little... I know that he's playing. I think that what's so great... It's funny because the last reading we did is Measure for Measure, right? And we get to the end of the play and there's a real question about whether at the end of that play Isabel is happy about the choice that she's been the not choice she's been given, about the Duke has requested her hand in marriage and she's silent on the topic.
How many people here were at Measure for Measure?
Measure for Measure.
A few hands, yes. Yeah. Okay, good. So you sort of know. Yeah.
Here we have kind of an interesting alternative, which is there's all sorts of funny things that happen. We have Sebastian's very loaded, it has multiple meanings when he talks about Olivia, I'm sorry you technically married the wrong person, but it kind of works out because you've been contracted to a maid, but now you're contracted to a man and maid, and it has multiple possible meanings in how you interpret that. We do not see, Viola is not returned to female clothing. At the end of it, she's still Cesario. We finish the play, and there would be every reason and every convention to return her to female clothing. Him, technically, the original actor, to female clothing at the end of the play. But here we have the idea that we're going to stay in that. We're not done with that trope yet. We're not done with the complication of Cesario Viola's identity.
Right. We chose today, because I was thinking about that. I thought, well, we shouldn't make a big deal of that moment. And then I thought, oh, it's so much fun to have Tabitha put her hair down. So we were just like, let's do it. It's great. And it was she did it in such a funny, it was funny, and she did it in such a great way. And it just for a reading, it just felt like the right choice. But I was sort of determined beforehand to follow along the path of what you were just describing, and like, no, she's got to stay as Cesario, because you keep saying, like, we'll get to that. Yeah. We're going to get to the women's weeds.
Later on.
It doesn't... Later tonight or whatever.
But it also gets I love that we have, I love that the two Antonios that Shakespeare writes, Antonio here and Antonio in Merchant of Venice, are the two most overtly loving, devoted, slightly obsessively devoted characters in all of Shakespeare. And that Antonio's language in this play about Sebastian is religious. I felt devotion for him, the sanctity of my love. All of it is religiously charged in how he talks about what he feels for Sebastian. And we are left at the end of the play. Yeah, I love, what do you do with, you have one of those great everybody leaves, and what do you do with it? And what happens to Antonio at the end of the play? Where does he fit in this world of lovers?
Yeah, well, obviously we solved it by having him fall in love with the priest.
Love it.
We figured it out.
What did you discover today? Because we did an online rehearsal. This is the first time that they've done it. I love these readings because this is the first time they've done it all together up on their feet. Yeah, is in front of you. Right. There's blocking during the day. They've read through the script online once, but this is it. What you see is the first official run of them as a group, which is amazing. What did you discover today in the room? I
always discover things in the afternoon that don't happen at night. And then I discover things at night that didn't happen in the afternoon, and it's always a bit of a back and forth. But I think what I discovered is that, well, I was particularly struck by Peter Francis James, some of the choices he made. Are you here, Peter? Are you?
Who's Peter?
He's talking. He played Malvolio this evening, and oh hi, I was just talking about you.
Most.
Well, I just was struck by your performance and your choices during the day, because a lot of the actors have to make lots of decisions during the day and in the evening in order to make it work for you. And so I was just noting that a lot of the choices you made managed to create a wonderful world where we could have sympathy for you, and we could have we could understand where Malvolio is coming from, but still live in kind of a comic world. Those things could coexist, and I just thought that was great that you were able to live in those places and make them the same place, really.
I can kiss the rocket.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there. It is in there, and Shakespeare requires that of us many times, is to hold lots of balls in the air, and we can only have so many during these readings, but we manage a fair amount, I think, and so I was very pleased with that. I was also, when you think about the play, and you're not doing the play, but then when you see the twins finally on stage, I was struck by that this afternoon too. I forgot how fantastic that is.
Yeah.
When they're both finally in the same place. It's a fantastic theatrical moment, and I find myself drawn to those things.
It's funny watching it tonight. I am reminded, it's something I hadn't, just reading it, you don't think about it as much. Viola is such an incredible character, and it was great. Tabitha was just amazing tonight, because watching Viola, more than any other female character in Shakespeare who is so central to the story, has the best attitude of, wow, this is bonkers.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm just going to go with it. Yeah. There's a certain, one of the things that makes Viola such an interesting character is that she creates a situation and is then swept up in it and by it. And she's never conquered by that. There's never, it's very complicated, but there's a forward momentum to just, it's like, I always envision Viola as a surfer. Mm-hmm. She is surfing this play and really hoping that she makes it to the end before the wave crashes over her. But there's still control within that. There's an artistry to surfing this play that's just fantastic. It's so neat.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And she's able to also notice things along the way while she's surfing.
Well, and this is such a sweet thing. One of the things that Shakespeare does so beautifully is talk about male friendship and female friendship. That up until marriage, you have very separate universes. Men and women don't hang out in his universe. They don't have casual relationships in quite the same way. So you become very dependent on your circle of same-sex friends in his world, which is why the line between romance and romance is very thin in Shakespeare's writing. But I'm struck in this play that Viola has been given an option and he does this with multiple women, where she's able to hang out with the man that she's interested in. That because she is male, they get to know each other as friends. Mm. And how many women in his universe had that opportunity?
Right, and they almost have like guy talk.
Yeah.
Right.
They're just hanging out.
Talking about what they talk about women.
They talk about women.
Right.
But what a gift in that universe to be able to actually get to know the person you're going to marry. That is the exception, not the rule.
Right, right.
So how lovely that he's constantly giving couples strange opportunities to actually connect.
Right.
Yeah.
And Olivia gets to know him too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
It's interesting. Any thoughts about what we just said? Or anybody want to ask a question or respond to anything that we're talking about?
Yes.
Does it seem to you that the quickness of people falling in love with each other or something? Or is it that life expectancy was like if you got to 40, you were lucky, you better get going.
Yeah.
TikTok.
It's Romeo and Juliet, 12, 13, that kind of thing. It's just that once you connected, you're supposed to do it, or is it like nobody can tell why you're going to wake up and the first one you're going to see is going to be the one that's the one for you.
Right.
He makes a little bit of commentary on it in various plays. One of my favorite lines in this play is Olivia talking about this one interaction she's had with Cesario, and says, "Even so quickly may one catch the plague." Like, oh dear, I've been thunderbolted. And I'm not sure what to do about that. It's startling. The way he often, and even at the beginning, the fact that that Orsino talks about love as a kind of sickness. It's something, and Shakespeare uses that analogy a lot as love as illness, in a sense. It comes out of nowhere. It strikes you when you weren't expecting it, and it alters you by its very presence. So it's a great question, how much of that reflects how society worked versus how it's fun dramatically when people just are like, you, dibs, let's go. It's interesting to think about. Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah. I mean, I think people did feel, to some extent, what you're saying, a pressure to get things going in general, because the life expectancy was lower, but it is so marvelous as a theatrical device, as you're saying, to have the character get hit by the thunderbolt, or even the opposite, like in The Winter's Tale, Leontes gets hit by jealousy and it takes over his brain, and he becomes ill and sick because of it, and that's just like a wonderful Shakespearean theatrical device that still works.
Yeah.
And it always blows my mind that it still works, but it really, really works if you do it well.
Well, it's interesting because you spend so much time in the 18th century, 19th century being logical in plays. There's a great logic that goes into a lot of even love stories. There's a bit of a logic to it. And Shakespeare, it's like, we are not logical.
Yeah.
We are so not enlightened, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And he just runs with that. And it's why and I say this with great love to Marivaux, that's why we do Shakespeare and not a lot of Marivaux these days.
Yeah.
Any other questions, thoughts, comments?
I'd love to hear your thoughts on Mariah.
Oh.
She is great. First of all, wow, what a great part. I love that she and Toby end up together. What's your thought on that relationship, Sir Toby?
I've thought a lot about that relationship. I was lucky enough to be able to play Sir Toby twice in a full production, and it's always a little different every time. But I think that I think my general feeling is that Sir Toby is chastened by this experience. I think he's sobered up by it, and I think that at the moment that occurs, that always happens for me when I'm playing the part, and I don't think I really was pulling focus and trying to have it tonight. But internally in my brain, whenever I've played this part, when I'm looking at Malvolio in the prison, in the dark room, and I see how painful it is for him, I feel like that's the moment where Sir Toby is like, okay, this is fucked up. This is really bad. And come to me in my bedroom. I did it sort of lightly tonight, but I think that's also like, we need to talk. And also fool around. But, I need to talk to you. Because she is his confidant, even though he has a lot of fun talking to everybody else. He really relies on her all through the play, really, for all sorts of little things. If we had our time, I would have a ritual of the hangover with her in the first scene, and she would be tending to him and helping him, and she's done it a million times, and she's sort of sick of it, but she has feelings for him, and he in a less dysfunctional mode, maybe a good guy somewhere in there that could come out, but he's just so addicted to this that he just can't get there. that maybe he does a little bit at the end of the play.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I hope for Mariah's sake.
Yeah, I do too.
You know, I often think about the fact she is a gentlewoman. She is of good standing, social standing, but she is technically an attendant.
Right.
You know, she's not of a servant class, but she is not independent within the world that she moves in.
Right.
There's so many characters in this play who are striving. Malvolio has gotten as far as he's capable of getting within the world of servants. A steward is a fantastic position, but it's a ceiling. There's nowhere to go from there. So him dreaming of marrying Olivia is just a pipe. It's ridiculous. It's so far beyond where he can go.
Right, but it would get him there.
It would get him there. I mean, it
would.
can technically it's not illegal, but it's
Right.
a huge leap.
Right.
Mariah's leap is not a huge leap, but it is a leap. It is a social step upward. I hope it's a personal step upward. We'll see, but you never know. But I think it's really interesting to think about. She wins. She wins at the game of what, you know, she achieves a marriage. She achieves a potentially higher social standing. Girl's got game. Like, she knows what she's doing in this world. And she is, I always imagine Mariah as patiently wearing him down. You know, she gets him. She's been, and I actually think, you know, there's this, you get the impression that Sir Toby and Mariah know each other well.
Yeah.
They've known each other a long time. What a lovely, like, you know, speaking of patience on a monument, she's biding her time. She's waiting till the moment where he wakes up to the possibilities.
Yeah. And it always strikes me when I'm doing this play that the whole scheme, it's all her.
Yeah.
It's all Mariah. It's like the two guys are like, what? What are we doing? You know, like, it's her. She's the smart one in the group, and she writes the letter, and
and she's got him, and
right.
she's just got him wrapped around her finger by the end of that.
Yeah.
I also think it's a fun little thing. They're constantly making reference to her height. By the way, the youngest wren of 9, some mollification for your giant, says Viola. No absolute theories on this, but you know, there are so many times where they're within a period of time where there is a tall boy and a short boy who are playing the female parts. And my guess is that this is the same boy actor who played Celia in As You Like It, who potentially played Hero in Much Ado. So that comic shorter actor boy is the through line there, who is very slightly built, whatever else we know about him. Great comic timing, not a lot of height.
Yeah. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. Any other comments or questions or
I thought that saying this transformation measure is also interesting because both plays in a way extend beyond comedy. At the end of the 12th night, when Malvolio is not reconciled, the audience are left asking, in a sense, Shakespeare plays a bit of a trick on the audience. We're left asking ourselves, should we have enjoyed his humiliation as much as we did?
Yeah.
And in Measure for Measure, there's the scene between Isabella and her brother, in which she says she will not sacrifice her virginity to save his life.
Yeah.
He asks her to do so. And the audience has and there's a kind of a tragic tension there because the audience has a sense that they're both wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then that tragic tension is resolved when a way is found around that so that that choice doesn't have to be made, and then it becomes a comedy.
Yeah.
So both plays have certain dark aspects to them that extend beyond comedy.
They do, and that's what's so wonderful about these plays, because we can embrace all of that.
Yeah, and that idea of this, a lot of people talk about this as his last pure comedy in this style. And I think there's something kind of beautiful that we end the play with a recognition that this is temporary. it's subtly, you can think about this versus Midsummer, one of his earliest comedies, where we end with the idea of, if you didn't like the play, pretend it was a dream. Let it go. This is different. We end similarly. We end with Festi coming out and telling us the rain, it raineth every day. That's all one, my song is done. There's something about we've been in a place. We've been in a comic place, and we are now being told it's time to leave that, which is kind of beautiful and a little bit melancholy. It's letting that darkness in just a little bit there at the end. But
and that song really does that, doesn't it?
It does.
That final song really, I think, makes us feel all the things that you were describing. You know, like that wonderful.
It's we're back into January. It's never fun. You go at the end of in the Catholic Church, you refer to returning to ordinary time. At the end of the Christmas season, it's like, oh boo, ordinary time. And Olivia has that wonderful line too in this: the clock upbraids me with the waste of time. It's like we can't live in festival forever.
Right.
It's not possible.
Yeah, time is mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
Viola says time. This is too
untie.
difficult for me to figure out. Too difficult a knot for me to untie. Yeah.
Speaking of songs, thank you, Todd, for pointing this out. There is a musical group called Collectio Musicorum, who tomorrow night and Friday night are doing a series of songs from the First Folio in 2 different church locations. So if anybody's interested, you should look this up. It sounds awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, First Folio, guys. It's
great.
400-year anniversary song. Delightful, why not?
Fantastic.
2 plays, so cool.
That's great. We should put that information out there on the internet. Yeah, we should do that. We'll do that.
You can find the information on the website of the Gotham Early Music Scene.
Okay.
GEMSNY.
Okay.
The concert tomorrow is 1:15 in the afternoon at the St. Malachi's Church on West 49th Street, just east of 8th Avenue. And then the Friday evening concert, which will be
8 p.m.
a larger version of the same of the program, will be at the Good Shepherd Church on West 66th Street.
Okay. Terrific.
For more Shakespeare.
We'll put it out. We'll put it out there in an email.
Thank you for bringing that. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great.
Well, speaking of night, shall we send?
I think we should descend into the night.
Shall we see? I hope we will see all of you in a few weeks for The Tempest.
Yes, coming up soon, November 16th.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting adventure.
It will be. It will be. Please join us for that. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for coming.
Great. Thank you. And cut.